Welcome back. Well, Ethiopian Airlines has signed a shareholding agreement with Zambia's main development agency to relaunch the South African country's flag carrier at an initial cost of $30 million. The Ethiopian state-owned carrier has outpaced regional competitors Kenya Airways and South African Airways to become Africa's largest airline by revenue and profit, and has been buying shares in other African airlines to gain a competitive advantage over rivals such as those in the Gulf. Under the plan, Zambia Airways, being revived more than 2 decades after it was shut down, would operate 12 planes by 2028. Ethiopian Airlines will own 45% of the revamped Zambian airline and Zambia 55%. All right, let's now cross over to the stock exchange where my colleague Temple Ashaju is standing by to give us details of what's going on right now. Well, the market was in the red, 0.43% down at midday. So let's get to know what the market is looking like now. Good afternoon, Temple. How are you doing today? So it's approximately 40 minutes to the sound of the closing gong, and we saw the index in the red, 0.43% down at midday. Has anything changed at this time?
Yes, a lot has changed, Chimezie. As at midday, the market has moved downwards again. It's moved further downward from the 35,266 points that it closed at last week, down now to 34,904 points, and it continues to dip. Although we're beginning to see a bit of zigzag movements in the market. A while ago, we saw Dangote Cement back again and gaining with some gaining streak, up by about 10%, all the way from 220 naira up to 229 naira. But you know how it is in the market. Someone is buying and the other is actually selling. So we saw the index, moving in a zigzag manner. But you look at the sectoral performances, we're seeing declines in the banking sector by 1.3%. We're also seeing decline in the oil and gas names, as well as the industrial consumer goods sectors. Now, some of the market movers that we have, PZ, which represents the interest of the consumer goods by 7.12%. And you look at Zenith Bank, it's down by 1.77% as of a few minutes ago when we checked the numbers. But for some of the gainers, we have Air Service and we have Sky Bank. And you also have one of the federal government savings bonds also falling by 7.9%. As of a few minutes ago when we checked these numbers. And that's what we're seeing in the market. We know that investors have continued to react to the economic pressures that we are seeing in the global markets, the pressure in Turkey, the pressure in China in relation to the tariff changes, modification that we're seeing between the United States of America and these advanced markets. Chimezie.
Even as the market is preparing to go on holiday, I'm sure investors are actually taking their profits. Well, talking about this holiday coming up tomorrow and Thursday, rather on Wednesday. Now, we have seen a number of companies posting their earnings, and then we are expecting some of them to send in their earnings perhaps this week. The likes of UBA, you talked about the banking sector. We have the likes of Access Bank that have not posted their results. Are the traders expecting these companies to come in with their earnings, perhaps when the market returns from the holiday? What are they saying?
So speaking with a couple of brokers earlier, they mentioned 3 banks, Access Bank, UBA, and of course Fidelity Bank. These are banks that the traders are really expecting earnings from, but none of these banks have really released their earnings, their first half 2018 earnings, which also informed the reason why we're seeing a huge losses in United Bank for Africa, UBA. As of last week, it was down to 8 naira, and as we speak, that company has reduced its volume of shares critically by about 20% of the 46 or 45 million units of of the shares that have been exchanged or traded in the markets midday. Total volume of what we've seen so far this day was down by 84%. In terms of value, it came lower by 67%, and UBA alone formed 20% of these trades that we've seen in the market. So until we see a form of information or earnings reports from this bank, I don't think anything is going to happen. Again, recall that this bank, UBA, has issued a form of press release earlier saying that there is going to be a delay in the release of its earning. And whenever we have information like this, traders always give cold shoulder to such information and to such stocks.
All right, thank you very much for those updates, Temple. And a group of ordinary Nigerians is tracking the government's performance by monitoring public projects funded by taxpayers' money and providing feedback to the people. Tracker, which primarily operates on Twitter, encourages citizens to share photographs and videos of incomplete projects. Let's watch this.
Nigerians are turning to social media to debate the way Africa's most populous country is run, as thoughts turn to the presidential and legislative elections to be held early next year. The Tracker Project by Budgets is an organization which monitors public spending by tracking the progress of government projects. Tracker primarily operates on Twitter and encourages Nigerians to share photographs and videos of various projects, ranging from unfinished roads to school building renovations, before passing on grievances to public officials to seek action.
Other roads that I've tracked for this area, some of them either undone, ongoing, but so far this is the worst I've seen in this local government.
Development in Nigeria has been held back by poor infrastructure, and officials from local to federal government have for decades been accused of mismanaging public finances in one of the continent's largest economies, while most people live on less than $2 a day.
So what about
the Tracker Project, launched in 2014, is overseen by a team of 24 people. The response to complaints about the resurfacing of a road in the Surulere district in the commercial capital, Lagos, which began about a year ago, shows the way the not-for-profit project works. Locals contacted Tracker on Twitter to say work had come to a halt and poor drainage makes it prone to flooding.
Some people will put a caterpillar and then 2-3 days they will leave. Some people will come here, the caterpillar break all the road, they pack all the sand away from the road. When they pack all the sand, they dispose the sand by selling it. Not that they use the sand for anything, and they put the road in another mess.
Every election cycle is always important, but we always emphasize to people that it's not just about elections. You need to hold public officers to account. So voting on election day is a critical civic duty, and also a way to demonstrate your voice matters in the political system. But what happens afterwards, you must have eternal vigilance to take note about what is happening and also hold public officers account. So that's what we also want to put into play.
Some lawmakers have described those behind the project as troublemakers, but others like Babajimi Benson, a member of the lower chamber of the parliament, disagrees.
It's a positive inclusion into the democratic space. So they use the word eagle, so it's good. They bring the projects onto the knowledge of the constituents. And the lawmaker also has it at the back of his mind that somebody is also watching.
Despite the stated aims of the project, its impact is limited in a nation of some 190 million inhabitants.
And with that, we draw the curtain on today's edition of the program. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwagu.